Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Dark Souls 2's My Platinum Playthrough. Hopping right back into where we left off last time. We lit that bonfire in Harvest Valley. We continue around this area until we find these mannequins up the stairs. They try to shut the gate on us, but we ain't buying that shit, so we go outside and beat them up. And then we have to go over here and talk to... I forget his name. I think it's Galligan. Anyway, this dude that sells ladders. He's a bit of a stingy bastard. He tries to steal all your souls. But at the end of the day, we have to pay him 12,000 souls to get the Garrulous Miser achievement. And so we have to exhaust his dialogue here, so he'll go back to Majula. He also gives us the prostration gesture. We talk to him a little bit just to get him to exhaust his dialogue. And then as we continue through Harvest Valley, I get a little bit lost, have to Google some things, but eventually we're looking for a spell that's a sorcery that's in one of the areas around here. I just left this part in because I have no idea where I'm going. I have to sit here and look it up a couple times. I almost jump off the edge there, and then I realize there's a doorway behind me with a chest in it, so I go back, open up the chest, should get a heavy soul arrow or a great soul arrow. Great heavy soul arrow. I knew it was one of those. After that, we continue on through the area a little bit further. This is coming toward the end of Harvest Valley, where we come up these stairs. And if you guys didn't know, I left this clip in where the old crow attacks you. You can go up the stairs and around the corner. And there's a hidden little bonfire behind one of the walls there. So I left that in just in case anybody didn't know where it was. Drop down through these guys and then run past them. And we go into Mitha's boss lair. I do beat Mitha on the first try. I don't think she's that hard a boss. She gives you plenty of time to heal. I speed up the fight because I don't really think this is that interesting watching me heal and roll around her the whole time. But we do beat her first try. Gotta watch for that tail attack. You hate getting hit by that shit. But, you know, I do twice. And the soul arrows hit like trucks, but they're pretty easy to dodge, and for the most part she only ever does 1 or 3 like that. And there you go. So we beat Mitha and we continue on to Iron Keep. I come down the stairs here and I grab this bonfire. And then I go back to Majula to talk to this guy. So like I said, we have to buy $12,000 souls worth of ladder so that we can get the Garrulous Miser achievement. So if you just talk to him to set up the ladder, you buy the most expensive option, and then if you talk to him again, you should get the achievement. So I get it right here. He also now sells his little ladder miniature, which we're actually going to need for later in the game. There you go, there's the Miser achievement, and I don't buy anything else off of him. I am missing a couple spells from Licia, so I come back to her and I grab the lightning spell, and then I come back down and I go down towards the gutter. I left this part in as well just in case anybody wanted to see me jump down the thing here. The ladders don't go to the correct area if I remember correctly, so you have to actually do what I do, and you jump down all these platforms. But eventually here we are, we make it down to the Grave of Saints, and I grab the bonfire, and so I continue through the area, and it turns out that you're supposed to put a lockstone on that one. Instead, I put mine over here like an idiot. And what you're trying to do is get that bridge across me to drop down. I end up getting kind of sauced up by these rats. They hit me a few times, and then I put my lockstone, my Ferris lockstone, in the wrong spot. So I wanted to make sure I highlighted in the video that that is the correct one. I do get it here in a second, but I actually don't know what this one does. I put one in, and it just extinguished the torches, I guess. And so you put it in the correct one, and the bridge drops down. Alright, and then at the end of that little area, you get the Whisper of Despair spell, and then we go back across. I meet this nice shirtless man. He tries to give me a tour of the caves. I say, no thank you, sir. He doesn't really like my answer, so he comes over here and beats the shit out of me. Eventually, you know, ruining my day and killing me. I tried to have a nice fireside chat with him, as you guys can see, guys, but he didn't really buy it. He didn't like it. I die. And then we go into the Royal Rat Vanguard fight. So for this fight, you have to kill a few rats, or maybe it's time-based. I'm not really sure. I'm sure somebody else knows. I'm sure the wiki knows more than I. But I think you have to kill a certain number of rats. And then the Mega Rat, the Royal Rat, will drop down so that you can fight him. There you go. See, so you see him drop down. His boss bar appears. There you go. He's the one with the mohawk. So I kind of beat the shit out of him a little bit, but then his other little rat armies, they start jumping on me. They're gangbanging me harder than Piper Perry today, and so I have to leave a little bit. I get stuck in the middle of it again. I'm telling you, I'm getting sauced here. And there you go. So I slowed down because here he comes, walking right over towards me, about to catch me mallet, and there you go. I get him. So victory achieved on that one. Right after this, you get the Rat Tail and the Vanguard Soul, but the Rat Tail is more important because we're going to go over to the Covenant that's right after this boss fight, and we're going to get the Royal Rat Covenant. So a lot of these achievements I actually already have because, like I said in the first episode, I do have like 300 hours in this game, almost 400 now, so I don't actually need the achievement. The achievement doesn't pop for me. I already have it, but I showed it to you guys. Jump down into the gutter. There are a few achievements that I missed, but alright, so I dropped down in the gutter, and I left this part in. This is the path I take through the gutter every time. So I'm blinder than Helen Keller, and so I, use my feet and my wits. Walk back through here. I always roll past that dude, and then we come up on a couple statues here that shoot poison, and this rat guy, he almost always gets me, and I almost always get poisoned here, at least hit once. And sometimes the statues will sometimes break your poise and cause you to stagger. It's not consistent, it's not always, but so I heal up from the poison a little bit there. You want to dodge those dudes with black swords because those things hurt like hell. There's a mummy there. We drive past him. I say drive, I meant run. We run past him, jump down, go through this fog gate, and then I go to the other side of the area trying to find the bonfire that you can see right there. I smack literally every wall except the correct one, which is the one right next to me, and I get beat up by a couple of malnourished individuals. There you go. So I grab my souls back, I get that fire, and then I continue on through the area. At the very bottom of the area that we were just in, those two pots, you're going to get the dark fog thing, and then we go down into the Black Gulch. And then, so the second bonfire, you have to use a Fragrant Branch of Yorin, and Woodland Gully, I think the name is, spawns, or Child Victor, I don't remember. Anyway, this invader spawns, and that dude doesn't get up fast enough, so I end up catching some hands and dying there as well. But I come back with a vengeance, JK, I die again. And then, but this time I come back. Just kidding, I die again. This area. And so, eventually, I make it back. Woodland Child comes back. I beat his ass. I sit at the bonfire, and then I start trying to work through the area, trying to find stuff. So, you drop down to this one area where there's two giants. It's a huge dark room. You can see their mallets there. I run past them. I end up just fighting these guys with a bow because I'm a little too scared to try to fight them. And then the last one, I get the last hit on. You want the key that he drops. You come back through the area and you get the scraps of life. And then you come back through. I'm smashing a little bit of stuff. That is the closest call I have had in Dark Souls 2, I think. In 400 hours. That made my ass pucker. Use this key, alright, that you get from the giants, and then you have to come over here and talk to Grandal. He is the Abyssal Covenant guy. You have to meet him 3 times.
The dark is too.
After we meet him 3 times, he actually sells us a couple things that we need as well. I come back up to the first bonfire in the area that I didn't show, and we're on the hunt for Lucatiel. I can't find her either, and so sometimes you need a torch to find her little platform that you have to run down onto. And so we land there. I talk to her. I think this is like the 5th conversation I've had with Lucatiel, but this allows you to use her to fight the Rotten with her, and you need her to survive 3 out of maybe 4 or 5 encounters that she's a part of. So we come back to the bonfire here, I go ahead and I use a Humanity and summon Lucatiel. And then we go and fight the Rotten together. Now this is a pretty easy boss. I don't know if anybody has watched the speed. If you guys have watched the speedruns for this game, they farm the Rotten because he is probably one of the easiest Great Soul bosses in the game. I know I say that as I'm literally getting hit and sauced up by him, but I'm telling you, he's very easy. You do very decent damage. Sometimes the difficulty increase with having another summon actually makes the boss fight harder than it really needs to be, and I feel like that's probably the way it was with Lucatiel, because she wasn't doing as much damage as I was, but she's getting her own licks in there. There you go, that's us beating the Rotten. Me and Lucatiel survived. That's the important part for me to survive this break. Like I said, we get the soul of the Rotten and we continue through this area. Do a little war cry and celebration. You guys understand, right? And so we light another primal bonfire and we just teleport back home to Majula. I know I don't show it a lot, but in between a lot of this stuff, I actually do go back to Majula and level up and talk to some people, but a lot of it's not very important because I think I'm missing something all the time. I am missing a spell in Black Gulch, so I come back here, and I thought I had destroyed the chest, but it's actually up here instead, and I have this black hand-looking thing. I don't know what this, I don't even know what they call it. We go ahead, and in that chest is one of the Great Magic Weapon is the one that I needed. And then we teleport back. So the key that we got from the Giants, it can also be used down here. So we use that ladder that I paid 12,000 souls for, which is very long. And we go over here. That's kind of why I don't use the ladder to go down into the hole, because I don't think that there's any way to get from this side to the other side to get to the Grave of Saints. But we unlock this door here. Inside there's 3 chests, 2 of which have sorceries that we need. I forgot. This one has the Great Lightning Spear, and the other one has the Soul Vortex. We also need to get the Dragon Talon. That is one of the DLC keys that we're going to need for later. And then inside this last one, there's just like a branch or something that we can use. It's Belvine Witch Tree branch, that's what it is. Anyway, and then I go back to Strayed because we can trade the Royal Rat Vanguard soul for the Toxic Mist. And then I go back to Undead Purgatory because now we have the Token of Spite, which allows me to join this covenant and talk to Techi Ren, or Techi Gren. I don't know, but this guy's my favorite character. This is actually the PvP covenant, and you can get a couple spells from leveling up in this covenant. But unfortunately, since Dark Souls 2 servers aren't working at the time of me recording this Platinum playthrough, I have to do everything offline, and some of it's a lot easier anyway. But some of the spells you can get in New Game if you do a lot of PvPing instead. So I actually need that Delicate String, that ring that he has, but we end up just buying his spells instead. For now, I end up using the Delicate String in a later time for farming the Bell Covenant, the Bell Keepers. So I go back to Iron Keep and Fencer Sharon spawns. If you guys don't know, one of 2 AI will spawn in Iron Keep always, and it's either Fencer Sharon or Armorer Dennis, and I think Fencer Sharon is like bad luck, but she almost always spawns. That puzzle sword thing that she has in her left hand, whatever it is, yeah. She's beating the shit out of me with it. It uses like a whip almost. So I die to her once, I come back with a vengeance, and this time I think I beat her because I am tired of having Fencer Sharon spawn. I think she's probably the hardest invader in the game. I think most people would agree with that. Then Knight tried to make this a 2v1, but he got scared. He saw my mallet, didn't want any part of it. Fencer Sharon, though, she thinks she can take on the mallet. She's about to learn today. there you go. And she's banished, because I'm tired of seeing her. And so, we go into the compound there through the doors right after Sharon, and we take a hard right, and we meet Magrigold. Magrigold? Anyway, this guy runs the Dragon Covenant. We have to buy a couple spells off of him. We had to buy Dark Storm, and then I'm like 50 souls short for Fall Control, and I need to buy that off of him, so I just go and turn around and pop a soul real fast, and we get Fall Control as well. And then I talk to him, just trying to exhaust his dialogue.
Have you heard?
Alright, and so past that I continue on through the area and fight all the Alon Knights until I get to Smelter Demon. I pop a Humanity and I summon Lucatiel. This should be like one of Lucatiel's last fights. I'm pretty sure, if memory serves correctly, that this boss is weak to lightning, so I use my lightning gold resin to try to fight it. That doesn't really end that well for me, but I like to think I'm doing good damage. When he does that charge up thing where he shoots fire out of his stomach a little bit more, he is pretty invulnerable. He takes a lot less damage, just like now. If I was going over to hit him, he would take a lot less damage. And I was also fairly sure, maybe it's a new game plus thing, but I thought whenever you go over to hit him and he's charging up his sword, or he's doing increased with his flames, then I thought he did the pulsar attack like that, so I didn't want to go and get close to him. Otherwise I would have just gotten in my free extra hits. And right here is where I made the mistake of underestimating the Smelter Demon. So I go back through the area, come up, and Armorer Dennis now wants to fight, so I put him in his place in the graveyard. And then I go back to Smelter Demon. I save myself right there, and then I fall in the lava anyway. So I just put that in there. These Alon Knights and that bridge is fairly tight. Those guys hit me off of it. So I killed all the knights again. I came back, used a Humanity, got Lucatiel back. Say, alright, Smelter round 2. I think this boss actually did only take me 2 tries. I beat this boss the second attempt. I feel like my damage is less now, but I don't really know how much damage I was doing with the lightning on anyway. That's kind of the way it's always been. I use the Crystal Magic Weapon later, and I really don't see much of a difference in its damage either. So the reason that Smelter Demon's kind of hard is because he just has a lot of delay in his attacks. A lot of people you expect to swing very quickly, but not Smelter. And if you ever go and fight the blue Smelter, which I did not in the DLC, then the blue Smelter's even worse. He like delays his attacks by another second, and it makes it very hard to predict. So you're swinging more, or you're trying to roll more or less when you see the attack come off, than trying to predict the attack and roll preemptively. I'm not sure how he keeps hitting me with these downward strike attacks, but he is good at them, apparently. And Lucatiel is just tanking. But like I said, second attempt, Smelter has no chance. So we wrap up this fight and we continue on through Iron Keep. So I come upstairs, I grab the bonfire, and then I open up the door behind it, continue that way. If you keep going straight, you'll fight a couple more Alon Knights, and then you'll come up on another door where you can use this Ferris Lockstone. This unlocks Belfry Saul. So this is where you have to go to farm Bellkeeper's Covenant. I didn't record it because it was really boring, but basically you have to come up here, and there's one enemy that you have to wait to spawn. If you go through Belfry Saul like I just did, then you'll get the immolation, and then I continue through Iron Keep area, grab that bonfire. This lever turns off the fire in the area, like all these turret things. And then I teleport back to Huntsman's Copse to talk to Falcon and finish off the rest of his spells with whatever souls I have left.
Come again.
Alright, and so there is one spell that I'm missing in Iron Keep, and I realized that I just set off a bunch of those traps, but I come over here to try to look and see what it's like to get this one. It's in that chest down there, and I just, you know, I get a little curious, so I dip my toes in the hot water a little bit. Ooh, looks like I take a little bit of damage, so I think I'm gonna go need some fire resistance for that, but right now I don't have the spells for it, or the souls, so instead I continue on to Old Iron King, and I go to fight him instead. Iron King's not really that hard of a fight. It's just any attack that he does has a lot of knockback to it, and you're on a pretty thin platform. As you can see, he just hit me with his hand there. And you see that little area where he can hit me into an attack? So if he lands a good attack, it's basically instant kill. He's just going to knock me into the lava there. And he doesn't really give a whole lot of opportunity to attack him when he's not also attacking. He has to throw his hand or something on the platform for you to hit him unless you're using a bow. There is a summon for this fight that you can use. She looks like she uses a bow. I chose not to. You gotta watch out for that attack. Every time that thing hits me. Smack him in the face a couple times, and that's Old Iron King dead. Another one of the Great Souls finish. So we go past this area and we grab his Primal Bonfire until we're back to Majula. Alright, so continuing on down a different path, to go towards Freya's area, we have to go talk to Vanguard. He's one of the quest lines that we need to do. Unfortunately, I never end up finishing Vanguard's quest line. And then to continue through the area, you need a fragment branch of Yor, and you have to talk to Rosabeth there. She was the lady I just unfroze. She is also needed for the Gathering of Exiles achievement, so we have to talk to her after this, give her some equipment, and send her back to Majula. But when you pull this lever before these guys jump down, you don't really have to fight them. If you just run them around a little bit, the door will open and you can leave the area without any issue. We're about to outfit Rosabeth with nothing but the finest equipment. Alright, we're going to give her bling. We're blinging out Rosabeth this time. Any equipment that you give her, she actually does wear, too. Whenever we go back to Majula later, you can see what she's wearing is what I gave her.
But do you... I'll take anything. Just...
We're turning Rosabeth into a waifu. Alright, she's gonna be the cutest with all that armor on. We have to buy the Flame Quartz ring, and then I get Flash Sweat. We actually need a lot of her spells, but unfortunately right now I don't have the souls for it. And so we save some of that stuff. I grab the equipment that I needed for the spell in Iron Keep. Sweat gives you a good bit of flame resistance, so that's what we're trying to get. And the Flame Quartz ring also gives you some flame resistance. I sit at the bonfire and then try to go back the way I came because we need to talk to Vanguard again, and he doesn't move. So I realize that you can't. You're gonna have to go back to Majula, and then I have to run back over here where Rosabeth is standing anyway, so I have to talk to her again. So we talk to Vanguard here, and we get his gesture, and then we also get his quest line continued so we can spawn him for a fight later. And then I sit here and have the same conversation with Rosabeth about 8 times, not realizing that she's saying the same voice line. And then I go back to the area. So I came back to Majula and I wasn't sure why Exiles wasn't going. And then I realized Rosabeth hadn't shown up yet. So I ran around Majula and then I sat at the bonfire and there she is. She came back. So the achievement popped, and then I go up here to talk to her real fast to buy off the rest of her spells and reinforce my Pyromancy Flame ones.
I'm always here.
So I'm trying to farm souls for for leveling up. I need to get 1 attunement slot, and for 1 attunement slot you have to have 10 attunement, and I have like level 2. So I need some souls to level up with, and while I'm farming an Iron Keep, I came across the Smelter boss fight, and I forgot that the Pursuer spawned here again. So we fight him one more time. Another reason we're going to fight this second Pursuer is just because he's going to give us the Ring of Blades +1, which I do end up equipping because I am melee. I don't know if Ring of Blades works on... It actually, I just read it, it says increases physical attack. So it does not work on sorcerers, but yeah, I'm a melee build like everybody else, so of course we're going to use it. I go back to the Shaded Woods and talk to Vanguard's head here. For the achievement, you have to get his mask, so if you talk to him enough, exhaust his dialogue. He doesn't really sell anything that I care about, but he does give you the decapitate gesture, and so we talk to him a little bit, and eventually he gives me his head. There you go. I end up equipping that just because it kind of looks cool. So continuing on Shaded Woods, I grab the bonfire, and then I jump across, and I use a Fragment Branch of Yore on this guy over here, which gives me the Fang Key. We put him in his place in the graveyard as well. One good backstab with my mallet. Gotta wait till he stands up. I like to give my people a chance real fast, but then I put him back down. And Forlorn's a random chance encounter in a couple areas. This happens to be one of them, so Forlorn invades me. If you kill him 4 times, you can actually get his armor, but I only see Forlorn I think 2 or 3 times throughout my entire playthrough, and some of them might not even be in the same new game, so I do end up killing Forlorn. He's got a pretty big sword. You gotta watch out for it because he does pretty good damage. It only takes a couple hits from him to really kill you. But I put him down, and then I continue through the area until I get to this man scorpion. His name is Tark, and if you didn't know, you can buy the Ring of Whisper from the cat in Majula, and it allows you to speak to Tark. I don't think it's really used for much else, but this is the main thing I've always used it for. So I exhaust Tark's dialogue, or I just sit here and go rounds with him, having conversation for nothing. I have no idea. I don't really read their dialogue, but I know he keeps talking for a little while. And when I realize I'm not getting anything out of him, I end up leaving. But what I was trying to do is he gives us a gesture, and he also gives us a Fragment Branch of Yore after we kill the area boss.
We seem to the path. My name was Tark.
I think that's the end of his dialogue. So I continue through the area right before the boss, and I make a right by the gate, and we fall down a hole. We grab Homing Soulmass, and this is the second encounter with Headmaster or whatever, Dumbledore, sitting in a chair. So we talk to Dumbledore for the second time. We have to meet him one more time, and while I'm down there, I go to the other side. We picked up the Fang Key. I get a Fragment Branch of Yore, and we save Ornifex. So Ornifex is like Strayed. She can transmute boss souls. I don't actually end up using her because she relocates, and I really just don't need her, I guess. Strayed is the one that you end up getting all your spells from. And then I go back to the bonfire, walk back to where we fought Forlorn, and literally right next to where I killed him is this little shack. I use another Fragment Branch to unfreeze that guy so I have access to this chest, and we get the repair spell. So now it's time to fight the boss, and I have killed this boss plenty of times, and I've never used Man Scorpion Tark, and I was really just curious as to what he looked like when he was summoned, and what he would do in a boss fight. So I just summoned him. Have you guys ever used Tark? I feel like no one really does. No one talks about him. I honestly didn't even know he was a summon for this fight. Maybe you have to talk to him before you go in here or something, but I had no idea you could summon him. But Noshka's a pushover. Tark and I beat her first try. She just takes a minute because she does a lot of zoning in the front of her, and she's very hard to get behind. She turns a lot. Unless Tark takes aggro. She'll hit me with her spear and hit me with her pincers a lot. And then eventually, there you go, she does the move where she goes underground. And now it's just a waiting game. Tark is trying to hit her even though he can't. There you go. So we beat Scorpioness Noshka first try. Thank you, Tark. You're the best summon I've ever had. The summons really aren't that big. And then you get this dude, and he's like 3 summons worth size people. I continue through the area, and I go to the Doors of Ferris after this. Grab a bonfire there. As you can see, we find another new enemy, the Mastodon Knights. These dudes look like giant elephants in armor. They look pretty cool. And then there's dwarves with very large axes and the Bloodthirsty Rage. So we don't really take on too many of them, though. I leave there, go back to Huntsman's Copse for the last time, and finish off the amount of souls. I use the amount of souls I got from the boss and buy the rest of his spells. Now I go back and I level up to 10 attunement so that I can use Flash Sweat. I didn't know this until I was recording this, but apparently you don't have to have stats to use a lot of the pyromancies, or some of the pyromancies at least. So you can just slap it on. Flash Sweat doesn't have any requirements. As you can see, I just hovered over a couple of the pyromancies on my way, and I just tested out because I was really curious if I could use it. I'd never used pyromancies in this game, so I go back and I talk to Tark again and get his gesture warm up, and I also get the Fragment Branch of Yor. And then
hello there.
Here comes Forlorn. I have to kill Forlorn again. This is, I think, the second time I've run into him. Alright, so after killing Forlorn there, I go back to the area where I was missing that pyromancy. I use Flash Sweat, I put on the Flame Quartz Ring, and I roll through some water here, which gives me pretty high fire resistance. As you can see, I don't really take a whole lot of damage. And then I dip my toes back in the hot pool of lava here, and with a couple life gems, you can pretty much out-heal all the damage that you're getting. So you just run across, grab Chaos Storm out of this chest over here, and I actually make it back. I read on the wiki and in the guide that I'm using for the game that you don't always make it back, but I was pretty close. I ended up making it back, killed this guy, and then I use a Homeward Bone, and that's where I'm going to end the episode today. I appreciate you guys watching. If you guys are enjoying the episodes as much as I enjoy making them, please don't forget to like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one.